Hello everybody and welcome back to the farm. My goodness, how time flies. Welcome to the 20th episode of Buying the Farm. My journey to buying an old abandoned farm, trying to rehabilitate it, turn it around, and have a fun recreational property that I can use, do some light agriculture, and just have fun on. This episode, however, is pretty special because I'm going to go start to finish on how to use, operate, start, and drive this gigantic 1950s era Caterpillar D6 9U with the forestry package Bulldozer. I'm doing this for a couple reasons. First, people seem to like this Bulldozer. It's pretty cool, it's giant, it's a big fun toy. But second, I plan on selling the Bulldozer, so I not only want to create this video as a resource for whoever buys it, but also for anybody who may be thinking about purchasing one of this year model Bulldozer. Hopefully this is a comprehensive guide. The only concise thing to say about a 1950s era D6 Bulldozer is it's a gigantic beast. The thing is a mechanical work of art. This particular unit is super clean cosmetically, but it also is very solid mechanically. Going all around the Bulldozer, from the winch to the side engine controls to the blade to the tracks, it's just an impressive machine, and the things that it can do regarding moving earth is just phenomenal. This has been a great purchase. I've enjoyed just about every single second of using this Bulldozer, and I hope the new owner does also. I still have a little bit of work to do before I sell it, but I want to dive right in. I bought this Bulldozer just over 3 months ago for $10,000. It came with the original shop manual, but it also came with an operator's manual which I scanned to PDF, and the link to which can be found in the description of this video. Bulldozers of this era had both a gas pony motor to start the larger diesel engine. On the hood of the Bulldozer is the gasoline fuel filler, and up toward the blade is the engine coolant filler for the diesel engine. Adding gasoline fuel for the pony motor is fairly straightforward. There's a cap which is usually tightly screwed on, and it's held on by a chain so you can't lose the cap. Add your fuel, screw the cap back on, and you're on the way. Adding engine coolant for the diesel engine is exactly the same. However, this cap has a very fine machine thread screw, and it requires a lot of turning to get this off. Once off, you simply fill the opening with coolant until you can see the coolant, and then you screw the top back on. You may recall that in a previous video you saw me perform a repair on the upper radiator hose, more importantly the hose clamp that clamps it down. In that video that you see here on the screen, you saw me unscrew the lid, put in some coolant, check the level to make sure that you can see the coolant, and then screw the top back on. That's basically all it takes. The diesel fuel tank on this era Bulldozer is integrated into the seat. On this particular model, the filler is located behind the seat right above the winch. There's a dipstick that's located inside the filler compartment. It's about 2 feet long. If you pull it out, it tells you roughly how many gallons of diesel fuel is in the tank. Filling the diesel tank is pretty simple. Just dump it in and put the cap back on. The diesel filler cap is also a very fine threaded cap, so it takes a little bit of playing around to make sure that the cap goes on straight without either stripping it or cutting new threads, which you definitely don't want to do. A minor annoyance with this particular Bulldozer, especially with the forestry package, is that there's an expanded metal grate that separates the driver from the diesel fuel filler behind the driver's seat. Because that expanded metal grate is there, it makes it very difficult to fully tip upwards a 5-gallon can of diesel. There's really no good way to do it. Inevitably, you either spill diesel fuel all over the place, as I did here, trying to tip it completely up to get all the diesel out, or you leave a small amount of diesel in the 5-gallon tank. When it comes time to start the bulldozer, you have to walk around to the passenger side of the bulldozer and turn on the fuel valve. But there's a few important things that you need to also check, such as the oil level in the pony motor. So take note of the location of some of these important items. To start the flow of fuel to the pony motor, you have to turn the gas shutoff knob counterclockwise. That will start the flow of fuel into the carburetor. This will allow you to start the pony motor from the other side of the bulldozer. Back on the other side of the bulldozer, take note of some of the important components of the pony motor. Also, while we're here, start to identify the important elements of the diesel engine, which you'll need to manipulate to start the diesel engine once the pony motor has fired. Another important task before attempting to start the pony motor is to ensure that all of the various diesel engine components are in their starting positions. Make sure the compression lever is facing outward toward you, the operator. Make sure the clutch control lever is pushed backward toward the winch. Make sure the starter pinion lever is pushed downward toward the track, and make sure the throttle lever, sometimes called the fuel control lever, is in a midway position. I found this all very confusing and daunting when I first got this bulldozer, but it's actually a very simple formula to make sure that everything starts properly. Once you do it a couple times, or once you take it on a few dry runs to make sure the levers are all in their correct positions, you start to familiarize yourself with what all the different levers do, and it makes it much easier. Another thing the operator must do before attempting to start any engine is to make sure that all of the control levers in the cockpit area are in their starting positions. This includes the diesel engine throttle lever, making sure that it's in a midway position, the transmission gear selection stick, as well as the forward and reverse drive stick, making sure both of those are in neutral, and then the main engine clutch, making sure that's pushed as far forward as possible. Starting the pony motor should be as simple as holding in the starter button until the pony motor fires. Here's a list of everything that has to be done to start both engines. Pay close attention to the diesel starting process. First, make sure the clutch control lever is pushed backward toward the back of the bulldozer. Then sharply pull upward on the starter pinion lever. Then move the clutch control lever forward toward the blade. After a couple moments, toss the compression lever forward toward the blade. At this point, you could shoot some starting fluid into the air intake for the diesel, and the diesel should roar to life. All you need to do now is turn off the fuel supply for the pony motor, and that should die out, and then you're ready to go. The operator's seat is surrounded by a lot of mechanical levers and pedals, and all of these things have to be operated in unison to get the bulldozer to move effectively. Take a second and familiarize yourself with the layout of all of these elements. I know, there's a lot to it, and if you haven't ever done this before, it seems daunting. You won't be able to remember all of this. But honestly, after driving this bulldozer for 10 minutes, I was able to proficiently move it around, steer it front, back, operate the blade, and move earth. So here's a quick tutorial on the operation. To lift the blade, you pull the blade lift lever backward toward you. To drop the blade, you push it forward. Now this requires a bit of a stretch forward. Again, up, pull it backward, and to move it down, push it forward. The main engine clutch is going to be in your left hand constantly. That's the lever you're going to not let go of. This is what's going to allow you to shift gears and to move the bulldozer. So to put it into gear, push the engine clutch forward, and then push the gear selection stick into first gear. Now if you engage the clutch, it's not going to move yet, because first you have to move the forward reverse lever either forward or backward. So to get the Bulldozer moving, what you have to do is push the main engine clutch as far forward as you can, and at the same time take the forward reverse lever and pull it back toward you. Then slowly ease the main engine clutch toward the driver's seat and you'll move forward. Push the main engine clutch forward again and push that forward reverse stick all the way forward. Engage the clutch slowly and you'll move backward this time. You always have to engage that main engine clutch before you do anything. Pulling it backwards toward the driver's seat makes the Bulldozer move. Forward and backward. Pretty easy. Always keep in mind that if you have to stop the Bulldozer, just push that main engine clutch all the way forward. That disengages everything. So as long as you're on a level surface, that will stop the Bulldozer. If you're at an incline or going up or down, you also have to push the brake pedals on the floor, but we'll get to that in just a second. Oh, and before I forget to mention it, this Bulldozer is ridiculously loud. Sitting in this chair is deafening. You absolutely have to make sure you have good ear protection when operating this Bulldozer. To get the Bulldozer to turn right or left, there's a couple things you have to remember. With this particular year, the steering is not powered, so maneuvering the brake pedals and the steering clutches won't do anything in and of themselves. You first must be going either forward or backward before engaging the steering controls in order for the Bulldozer to turn left or right. So once the Bulldozer is moving, in order to steer, you have to apply the brake and pull the steering clutch both on the side that you want to turn. So for example here, I'm pressing the left brake and I'm pulling the left steering clutch all the way back toward me, while also moving the Bulldozer forward to get the Bulldozer to move left. To do the right hand side, you do the same thing. You press the right hand pedal and pull the right hand steering clutch back as far as it can toward you sitting in the driver's seat while moving forward to get it to move right. You don't have to be operating the Bulldozer at full speed. You don't have to be operating the Bulldozer consistently forward or consistently backward. You can pulse the engine slightly to move in very small increments, but you always have to have that Bulldozer moving in order for steering to occur. Left pedal, left stick to turn left. Right pedal, right stick to turn right. If you need to stop and you're on an incline, press both brake pedals together at the same time. Don't touch the steering sticks, just press the brake pedals, and that will engage the track brakes, and it will slow you eventually to a stop. Also, don't forget about the main engine clutch. Throwing that forward toward the blade will disengage everything. That will aid in slowing you down. Further, putting the blade down to the ground will create resistance and will also slow the Bulldozer to a stop. Speaking of stopping the Bulldozer, how do you turn it off once it's running? Well, just above the right brake pedal, there's a lever. It's called the throttle control lever or the fuel control lever. If you push that forward, it'll reduce the RPMs. If you push it all the way forward and hold it there, it'll turn off the diesel engine. Now the last set of controls is for the winch. There's two levers. The first one is the forward and reverse spool. The second one is the free spool. Both of these are levers. In order to activate them, you must first push the main engine clutch all the way forward, squeeze the handle, and then push the lever forward and slowly pull that main engine clutch back, or push it backward and slowly bring that main engine clutch back. Either one of those operations will get the winch to either spool out or spool in. The second taller control lever is the free spool control lever. Pulling that forward makes the winch cable stay in a stationary position so that you can pull things without winching in the wire. Putting that lever in the opposite position allows the cable to free spool. That means if you're pulling something heavy, the winch cable will eventually unwind itself, like what happened to me in a previous episode. Now that you've learned all the highlights of how to operate this bulldozer, now you simply have to choreograph all those moves together in order to actually get some work done with this absolute beast of a machine. It ends up being a bit of a workout. You end up leaving the bulldozer a little bit tired. The previous owner told me that in a given day, the bulldozer will outwork you. A lot of these levers involve reaching forward, so you're not just sitting back relaxing while you're in the bulldozer. You're doing some exercising. Now, I bought this bulldozer because it was both a good price and a very large size, which came in handy for me. But secretly, I was fascinated by the operation of this thing, the amount of levers, and how purely mechanical everything is. No sensors involved anywhere. To this day, the 1950s era Caterpillar D-Series bulldozers remain some of the most sought-after pieces of equipment in the used heavy equipment marketplaces. Everybody wants these. They just continue to work. Pound for pound, they still work more consistently, more reliably, and more regularly than some of the newer models that Caterpillar has ever made. If you're considering buying a Caterpillar bulldozer from this era, or perhaps you already own one, I hope this video has come in handy. There's a little bit of a learning curve to figuring out how to start and then operate the bulldozer. As long as you keep up with the maintenance on this bulldozer, you're almost guaranteed to have nearly an infinite lifespan of use with this bulldozer. For me, my process isn't over yet. I'm not quite ready to sell my bulldozer, but in the coming weeks I hope to complete everything I need to do on my property with this bulldozer. At that point, I'll probably be making another video and doing a sort of for sale walk around. But that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.